Three-eye atlas. It's just getting cooler or stranger or both. Hey, everybody, Rex Bear, Leak Project. How the heck are you? Bunch of news to share with you today, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's get into it right now, shall we? The first paper that I wanted to show you, this is from Professor Loeb, and it's gravitational lensing of Three-eye atlas by the sun. And it also has the most recent images that came out from a ground-based telescope, so we're going to look at that also. Let me pull this up right now for you. Check this out. Hot off the press. This image right here, unfortunately, I mean, it's not like the super high resolution image that's super close up, but we do have some images here. And this is from the Lowell Discovery Telescope. Let's look at the article real quick. 3 remarkable facts about Three-eye atlas are that it passed closest to the sun, October 29th, 8 days after a solar conjunction relative to Earth, which means the Earth's here, the sun's here, and Three-eye atlas is here. And as it's traveling, the backs, what we would consider the backside of the sun, because it was facing the opposite side of us, is blasting these CMEs, these pretty good sized CMEs. And some people think there could be a connection there. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But this is, so October 29th, 8 days after the solar conjunction relative to Earth, on October 21st, and then 26 days after crossing the ecliptic plane on October 3rd, when it was closest to Mars. Whether this confluence or orbital coincidences might be a signature of design, which people are doing the math and they're saying there's a strong possibility this orbit was designed and it isn't natural. Anyway, it offers a remarkable opportunity to observe the effect of gravitational lensing of Three-eye atlas by the sun. Here are the details. So we're going to get into the details in a minute. I just want to zoom in on this image here a little bit for you. This is Three-eye atlas from a ground observation. Now, the telescope that's being used, it's the Lowell Observatory. So we can take a look at it right here. This is the Lowell Observatory. Right here. Now, very interesting news. An American politician and Air Force veteran, Anna Paulina Luna, gotta love the name, right? Luna, last name. She sent out letters to NASA saying, where's the beef? Where's the photos? Where's the images from the high rise? And this is the letter right here. Congress of the United States, Acting Administrator Sean Duffy, National Astronautics and Space Administration, NASA. I write to request the release of specific observational data related to Three-eye atlas recently captured by NASA missions, as well as additional information on interstellar objects and meteors of scientific interest. This information is of great importance to advancing our understanding of interstellar visitors and their interaction with our solar system. We're going to get into that in a minute. Jupiter-bound mission is going to allegedly study interstellar comet Three-eye atlas. Allegedly, I mean, I don't know if they will or not. They may just say they're going to and ask for more money and not give us any information, because that seems to be the way that it is. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Noble Gold Investments. It's going to be a quick shameless plug. It's going to take 60 seconds. So I think it's really important for you to listen to this. But if you want to go do something else for 60 seconds anyway, we're wrapping up 2025. It's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned, it's that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, no one knows what 2025 is going to bring, but one thing is for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital, it's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember the best gift you can give isn't under the tree, it's peace of mind. And that's where Noble Gold delivers peace of mind 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step towards a safer future. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Get your free wealth protection kit today. Free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Do not leave your future to chance. You can also call them 1-877-646-5347. And if you give them a call and you let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you, they will gift you, if you qualify, find out how to qualify. This is a special for November for Leak Project listeners, a 10 ounce, or I'm sorry, 10 1 ounce. So you get 10 of these 1 ounce silver holiday coins. So 10 ounces. This is what they look like right here. I'm actually going to get one, or I'm going to get some in the mail here soon. I haven't got them yet, so I just wanted to show you what they look like. 10 ounces. I mean, what is silver going for right now at spot? It's about $48 an ounce, approximately. I think it's a little bit more than that, but right around there. And that will be gifted to you when you convert your 401 or IRA, if you qualify, through Noble Gold. So give them a call. Okay, thank you for listening. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for listening. Hey, what's up, Angela? What's up, Angela? How the heck are you? Great to see you. Stand by. Oh, that kombucha is amazing. All right, let's go back to the paper here. Boom. We just look at it. The latest image of 3i Atlas from the Lowell Discovery Telescope. And when you read this paper, Professor Loeb is actually, the guy's brilliant, but there's 3 remarkable facts about 3i Atlas. It passes closest to the sun, October 29th. We just went over this, 8 days after the solar conjunction relative to Earth, October 21st, and 26 days after crossing the ecliptic plane on October 3rd. It reaches closest point to Mars. Now, according to Einstein's theory of gravity, which Professor Loeb is teaching in his class at Harvard Astronomy Department tomorrow, the light from 3i Atlas is deflected by an angle. So where G is Newton's constant, M is the mass of the sun, C is the speed of light, A is the angular separation of the image of 3i Atlas from the center of the sun, and D, DS, DS, DD are the distances between the sun and 3i Atlas. Did you get all that? Deflector source. The Earth and 3i Atlas and the sun from Earth, deflector, substituting the values, as he puts down right here. Basically what he's saying is, I'll let you do the math, but let's just get into what he's talking about here. So October 29th, 2025, a non-gravitational acceleration of 3i Atlas near perihelion was reported and observed. Literally, this thing is moving via non-gravitational acceleration. Now, it could be outgassing. However, Professor Loeb details that if it is outgassing, the amount of gas and like the mass of 3i Atlas would actually be substantially less over a pretty short period of time, because that outgassing is what would be producing the additional acceleration if it is not some type of technology. And we are not seeing signs of that right now. So once again, not saying it's an alien spacecraft, and I'm not saying it's a snowy ice ball that has been leaving signatures of a nickel alloy, which has only been observed thus far through industrialization processes. And this nickel alloy that they're observing on 3i Atlas is used to harden spaceships that we create and satellites and space technologies. How about that? So the related data was obtained by the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, ALMA, which indicated that 3i Atlas was 4 arc seconds away in right ascension from where it was supposed to be, near perihelion, according to the forecasted trajectory. So the gravitational lensing by the sun amounts to a small fraction of the reported deviation. However, it would be exciting to analyze the ALMA data and check whether it shows evidence for the small effect of gravitational lensing by the sun. Observations of 3i Atlas close to perihelion by the solar observatories, which is Stereo, SOHO, and GOES 19. He reports on, and we discussed that yesterday. Now, the unprecedented brightening and a color bluer than the sun as it's passing the sun, adding that to the list of anomalies displayed by 3i Atlas, brings the total tally to 9. So let's look at the 3 anomalies, and then we're going to get back to the letter. Matter of fact, let's just jump to that right now. So I think it's very important to take note that Congressman or Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna specifically has written, I think, 2 letters now to NASA, and the second one just a couple of days ago saying, where's the data of 3I Atlas? Give us the data. And this is the letter right here. So we'll get back to that in just a minute. But let's look at the 9 different anomalies that we have now. Its retrograde trajectory is aligned within 5 degrees with the ecliptic plane of the planets around the sun. There's a likelihood of 0.2% based upon the data and the math and the equations that Professor Loeb did. Now, Greg Allison, which was also on the show recently, he's a rocket scientist. The guy's genius. He's working on the cutting edge in aerospace. The math calculations that he did on several of these anomalies were almost identical. The percentages that he came up with. I think that's remarkable. So in July and August, it displayed a sunward jet, anti-tail, that is not an optical illusion from geometric perspective, unlike familiar comets. There have been comets in the past, though, that have produced or displayed a sunward jet, which is referred to as an anti-tail, not to that extreme. And they were also, they disappeared when the sun ejected a solar flare. It actually wiped out, like Comet Encke was one of the comets in particular that had this anti-tail. Comet Encke, don't you love the name? Well, there was a solar flare, then the anti-tail was not observable shortly after that tail, but we can talk about that more later. The nucleus of 3I Atlas is about 1,000,000 times more massive than Oumuamua, 1,000 times more massive than 2I Borisov, while moving faster than both, altogether with a likelihood of less than 0.1%. Now, the universe is a big place, but 0.1%. So we've got 0.2%, 0.1%, 2 separate variables. Its arrival time was fine-tuned to bring it within tens of millions of kilometers from Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and be unobservable from Earth at perihelion. There's a likelihood of that at 0.005%. Its gas plume contains more nickel than iron, as found in industrially produced nickel alloys, and a nickel to cyanide ratio that is orders of magnitude larger than all of the known comets, including 2I Borisov, with a likelihood below 1%. Its gas plume contains only 4% water by mass, a primary constituent of familiar comets. It shows extremely negative polarization, unprecedented for all known comets, including 2I Borisov, with a likelihood below 1%. It arrived from a direction coincident with the radio WOW signal that was observed in 1977, August 15th. And that was within 9 degrees. There's a likelihood of that of 0.6%. This one just happened recently near perihelion. It brightened faster than any known comet and was bluer than the sun. So if these anomalies are all associated with a natural comet, then the non-gravitational acceleration of 3I Atlas must have resulted from it losing at least 15% of its mass. Now, this chapter or this paragraph is very important. So as he calculated, this should have resulted in a massive debris cloud around 3I Atlas, carrying over 5 billion tons of gas. It would be impossible to miss this massive cloud in upcoming observations during November and December. As 3I Atlas comes closest to Earth, December 19th, the day before winter solstice, if such a massive cloud is not observed, then the 10th anomaly of 3I Atlas would be the display of non-gravitational acceleration without the required massive coma. So we could be adding this to the list of anomalies. Now, I want to talk about something that I think is important here for a minute. Well, actually, let's get into this real quick. So I thought this was really cool. Out of the hundreds of emails I received from around the world yesterday, and this is Professor Loeb talking, one carried a particularly uplifting message. And this email is from Dustin Collier. He's a civil rights trial attorney based out of the San Francisco Bay Area, representing victims of workplace discrimination, harassment, and retaliation, all up and down the West Coast. He also has a bachelor's degree in philosophy, and he heard Professor Loeb mentioned on the Joe Rogan podcast, JRE, that you originally wanted to be a philosopher before getting drawn into astrophysics through a program you were selected for at Princeton, and now you attempt to apply your scientific prowess to philosophical inquiries. And he goes on to just basically compliment Professor Loeb, and he says, look, I appreciate what you're doing in more words than I am saying. And it's a really cool letter. It's a really cool letter. So if you get the time, definitely read that. And I think it might give you a different perspective towards Professor Loeb, just as far as the human side of things, Anyway, so I thought that was pretty cool. Now, this is the image from the Lowell Observatory that was just taken, and it is a ground-based observatory, Happy Jack, Arizona. Now, although it's not much, it's something. And when we observe this data, here's the observatory right here. When we look at the data and we look at the inquiring minds, those that want to know about this object outside of us, because obviously we're interested. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing the research. But there's people in Congress, there's people that are in aeronautics that are just as interested as we are. And I think we need to make light of that it's not just Professor Loeb making these claims and wanting more data. There's a lot of people that want more data and information on this. And why hasn't China released more footage and more images of this? And why don't we see these images from the high rise? Is it literally just because the government shut down, or is there something more to it? Is it some type of political play? I don't know. But Anna Luna, an American politician, Air Force veteran, aim high, serving as the U.S. representative for Florida's 13th congressional district since 2023. She's a member of the Republican Party. She is the first Mexican-American woman elected to Congress from Florida. That's pretty cool. And when we look at this letter, let's go take a look at this letter here real quick. Here's the letter that just went out on Christmas. She sent this out to the administrator, the acting administrator of NASA, Sean Duffy. I write to request the release of specific observational data related to 3I Atlas, recently captured by NASA's missions, as well as additional information on interstellar objects and meteors of scientific interest. This information is of great importance to advancing our understanding of interstellar visitors and their interaction with our solar system. So now she's going to talk about the high-rise camera, which we should have images from this camera. As Greg Allison brought up, it's the University of Arizona as well as NASA, but the University of Arizona is working with high-rise. And you would think that there would be students, college students, that would have information to share, or maybe administration at the college, but we have heard crickets thus far. October 2nd and 3rd, the high-rise camera aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter obtained multiple images of 3I Atlas. I respectfully request that NASA makes this data publicly available to the scientific community. The high-rise data, which should have a spatial resolution of approximately 30 kilometers per pixel, 3 times better than the best image captured by the Hubble Space Telescope. 3 times better. Gosh, I want to play that commercial. You remember that commercial, Wendy's commercial in the early 80s where grandma and her 2 friends showed up at the drive-through. They get their burger. She opens up the burger patty and she's like, "Where's the beef? Where's the beef? I want to know where the beef is." All right, so 3 times the resolution as the Hubble Space Telescope, offering a valuable side view of the glow surrounding 3I Atlas. The brightest pixel in these images will provide our most precise constraint on the object's size to date. And don't you love how NASA and these different programs involved with NASA and under the NASA umbrella, or somehow connected or funded by NASA, don't you love how they're sharing all these images of galaxies and galaxy superclusters and all the computer animation and graphics of certain interstellar objects like the flying space turd of Oumuamua? We still don't have good images of Oumuamua. Where's the beef? The first interstellar object that has very bizarre orbit, very interesting and fascinating characteristics, not like traditional comets. The only other theory that I am going to say could explain some of these anomalies well, and I want to get an expert on to talk about this, is the electric universe theory about comets. The electric universe theory and the physics behind the electric universe theory could potentially explain some of these anomalies of 3I Atlas. But when I hear people say that it is, okay, so somebody made a comment about how it's like a Twinkie. and it's releasing gas, and it's porous, and I'm talking about 3i Atlas, and it's releasing gas at particular times, which is what's changing the orbit of it. I thought to myself, that sounds like smart gas. Ba-da-ba. Drum roll, please. I mean, that's a pretty serious smart gas. I'm just saying. Alien Allen's in the chat. JC's in the chat. He's on our Rumble page. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being here. Thank you, everybody, for being here, watching the video on YouTube, watching on Rumble. Much appreciated. All right, let's go into this. Let's go back into this. Number 2. In addition, I request that NASA release any supplementary data from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the Perseverance rover, or other Mars missions that may have detected unusual activity near Mars around or after October 3rd, 2025, when 3i Atlas passed within approximately 30 million kilometers of the planet. I also ask that NASA disclose any data on 3i Atlas obtained by other missions, including the Parker Solar Probe or other active observatories under NASA's purview, aside from the Hubble and James Webb Space Telescopes. To further enhance our understanding, I encourage NASA to fund additional observations of 3i Atlas by the Juno mission near Jupiter, utilizing all available instruments, including its radio sensors. Observations from this vantage point could yield valuable insights into the object's composition, trajectory, and possible interaction with the solar environment. Finally, I request that NASA release all data on confirmed or candidate interstellar meteors contained in the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, which is CNEO's database, maintained by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, of particular interest, is the interstellar meteor detected on January 8, 2014 near Papua New Guinea, for which is there another page on this? Yeah, here we go. Inconsistent locations are listed separately in the fireball and light curve tables. Clarification and full release of this information would assist ongoing research and ensure transparency for the scientific community. Thank you for your attention to these requests and for NASA's continued leadership in advancing the frontiers of discovery. I'm sorry, I was laughing at something else. Really? I look forward to your response and to the agency's cooperation in making this important data available for analysis. Anna Paulina Luna, Member of Congress. So cool. Way to go. You got my vote, at least on that. Jupiter-bound mission to study interstellar comet 3i Atlas from deep space this weekend. JUICE. We've got JUICE and Lucy. Two programs. All right. So let's talk about this for a minute. First of all, there's people that are very interested in this data. And this is almost like it's making me think of the UAP phenomena, the UFO phenomena, and how for decades we're given carrots at the end of the stick. And then we find out years later that a lot of these UFOs and UAPs are actually top secret spy planes that the CIA is working on, like the U-2 spy plane, as an example, or something else. I mean, we go back. Let's just think about this for a minute. Let's go back to the 40s and 50s and 60s. It's all flying saucers, right? Flying saucers. Well, not all flying saucers, but the majority of UFOs were flying saucers. And then it goes from flying saucers to rod-shaped UFOs. And then it goes from rod-shaped UFOs to orbs or spheres. And I've seen one of these spheres in Pagosa Springs a few years ago. Kristen and I both saw a metallic sphere, 11 o'clock position, about 50 feet off the ground during the daytime in Pagosa Springs. It's there 1 second and then it's gone. It looked like a perfect metallic sphere. And I didn't see any writings or carvings or symbols on it. And I think that the Bugosphere, my personal opinion, is BS to the max. BS to the max. I've looked at that Bugosphere or the alleged Bugosphere, and it looks like something you could make in an art class. Yeah, it's got cool symbols. Yeah, they took some sample of it and they said it was 12,000 years old. I mean, come on. Swamp gas from Uranus is more plausible to be alien technology than the Bugosphere, in my opinion. Okay, so just saying. So let's get back to the podcast. This was cool. This was cool. NASA's Juno mission captures lightning on Jupiter, or a flashing green dot that they call lightning. It's like on, off, on, off, on, off. It's like Morse code. It was a secret astronaut mission where astronauts got stuck out there and they figured out how to create this Morse code. And so they're asking for help from the Juno spacecraft. So NASA has to say it's lightning. Anyway, no, it probably is lightning. It probably is lightning, but I thought that was pretty cool. This is something that I wanted to mention also, because Enceladus, as I mentioned 4 or 5 years ago, most likely there is life on Enceladus. I did a whole podcast on it. And then I came up with a really cool, I was using my imagination, and I came up with this idea that there's some type of technology in Enceladus that's pushing out those massive steam clouds into the solar system. And those steam clouds actually have seeds of life that's being shot out into the solar system from Enceladus. There's probably I don't know about high technology in there, like I was imagining with my science fiction mind, but there's definitely something in there pushing out this incredible gas. And the building blocks that are being observed in Enceladus, absolutely the building blocks you need for life. Wouldn't it be cool if in the next few years we discovered life in our solar system? Whether it's, like fish. I mean, imagine the fishing you could do on Enceladus. Talk about some pretty incredible scuba diving and snorkeling. There's probably some wild stuff out there. I don't think that there's high technology per se, except for in my imagination. But anyway, it's cool. Really, really cool. So Enceladus, we'll keep you posted on that. Building blocks for life. Absolutely on Enceladus. So the juice, we need more juice and more beef. This is the European Space Agency mission with NASA and other partners, launched April 23 to study Jupiter and 3 of its largest icy moons, Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa. I think there's life on Europa also. But anyway, this is one of the spacecraft that is supposed to be flying into the tail of 3I Atlas to capture more data. Will we get that data? Probably not, but let's see here. Let's see what they want to. They'll make something up. They'll be like, well, it's because of the government shutdown. Even though we got it, we're not going to show it to you because, JUICE will observe 3I Atlas from November 2nd. That's today through the 25th. So we should start sending email requests very nicely, asking for, if they don't send us the juice, asking for the juice. The comet will be about 210 million kilometers from the sun, and juice will be 64 million kilometers, which is 40 million miles. The mission will study the comet in a highly active state, as it will have recently passed close to the sun. This is a rare and valuable opportunity to study an interstellar object. JUICE will use multiple instruments, including a camera. But we're just not going to show you a near-infrared imaging instrument, a UV spectrometer, a sub-millimeter instrument, and a sensor for neutral atoms. The data collected is considered definitive for decades, as another interstellar object of similar characteristics may not appear for many years. The comet 3I Atlas poses no threat, they say, to Earth. However, even though it poses no threat, you saw this, right? The International Asteroid Warning Network has a campaign that starts this month, the 27th of this month, until January of next year, January 27th, where they will have a multitude of observatories, observations, and personnel from around the world working on this project for 3I Atlas specifically. But they say it's only a test, nothing but a test. Don't worry, the government's here to help. I want to show you this real quick. This was sent from somebody to my email, and he said, hey, a few years ago, I got some real interesting footage from the Keck Observatory. And then it was taken down, but I managed to find it and send it back. And it is I think it could be a meteor or an asteroid or just some type of space debris, but it's really cool. And I want you to check it out because it does show this weird plasma looking ball that kind of pops down. It'll be towards your left. So if you're watching your left, you'll see on the left side of the screen in a moment that something will light up. It's pretty cool. Here we go. Check this out. Right there. What was that? That's kind of weird. And you can see the date, January 3rd, 2017, the timestamps on it. This is the Keck Telescope. So I want to thank the person that sent me this. And if this is your YouTube page, I'll make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And that's what you should do for Lead Project. Hit the bell, all notifications. What is this? That's kind of weird. Let's watch that again. Looks like this. Is it the sun? I don't know. That's pretty cool. I'd like to hear your comments and read your comments in the comment section. So this is the Keck Observatory. So this is where the footage came from. And it's in Hawaii. And it looks like they're about 13,000 feet off the ground. So yeah, you should be able to pick up some good stuff up there. Did you guys... Okay, so let's jump topics for a minute. We'll get back into 3i Atlas. But did you hear about this? Did you hear about the Tesla ghosts? I guess there's entire like communities talking about this now, where the Tesla ghost is basically an effect that it's referred to as an effect of the car's camera and sensor system misinterpreting static objects like tombstones and statues in cemeteries as pedestrians. So the camera's picking up stuff in graveyards as people that aren't there. Alleged. I mean, weird. This is a known issue with the company's vision-based systems, which uses cameras to detect obstacles and relay the information to the driver via the display, leading to what appears to be phantom figures on screen when no one is physically there. So that's what these guys are doing. They're picking this stuff up. Anyway, so that's Steve and Steph. You can watch their video, but the vehicles themselves. So Tesla has a suite of cameras and sensors that scan their surroundings. And then how do you pick up a tombstone as a person? If you pick up a tombstone as a person, then wouldn't you pick up other stuff? But it's mainly in cemeteries? That is so weird. Reports of this phenomena often come from drivers who are in or near cemeteries where there are many such objects. So weird. Fox 8 News, Gizmodo, Facebook. I mean, there's a lot of videos on this stuff. Supercar Blondie, Tesla owners are reportedly seeing ghosts. Can my Tesla detect ghosts? Not only is it electric, so that's weird. That's really weird. And this is like hot off the press. So as you know, our military is building in force in the Caribbean right now, in Venezuela. Like we're talking F-35s, submarines, aircraft carriers, I think about 10,000 troops approximately. People are having to sign NDEs that are going out there working for the military or the DOD. But what's also interesting is the amount of troops that are leaving in nations that protect NATO. A lot of people are leaving Europe. A lot of military is leaving Europe. So we're going from Europe to the Caribbean. And as we're doing that, listen to this. A large-scale GPS jamming event has affected northern Venezuela and parts of the Caribbean, including waters near Trinidad and Tobago, which is where we have a lot of our military. The source is under investigation, but the precision and scale suggest it is not a natural phenomenon, and it could be linked to military activities amid heightened regional tensions. Aviation and maritime authorities are warning of extreme caution, and investigations are ongoing. The interference is concentrated around northern Venezuela and extends to the waters near Trinidad and Tobago. The incident was first reported around late Friday, October 31st, Halloween, with monitoring showing persistent interference spikes in early Saturday. The jamming has affected both aircraft and maritime navigation, causing GPS signals to become unreliable across the affected area. While the exact cause is unknown, the scale of the jamming is considered highly unusual and is not attributed to the natural atmospheric issues, leading to speculation about electronic warfare or military exercises. The Caribbean Aviation Authority and regional coast guards have issued warnings advising extreme caution. Investigations are being conducted by international monitoring agencies. So this makes me think of the beginning of this year and the end of last year, when we saw news reports on the regular of aircraft that were crashing. Aircraft, commercial aircraft, private aircraft, helicopters. Remember the helicopter crash that happened? And a lot of the news was projecting blame on the air traffic controllers, saying that they weren't, they didn't have good enough training, and there weren't enough of them. And it seemed to me like a very political smear campaign for certain agendas, which I'm not going to get into here, but that was just my opinion when I was looking at it. And the more and when I saw all of that news and saw these things taking place, I was thinking to myself, I just wonder if there's something more to the story, if there's something else going on. And I can't confirm this. I don't know. But I'll tell you this much. What we do know is the GPS spoofing and the GPS interference has gotten more intense, more advanced, and is used more often than it was previously. And it's like an ongoing thing. It's increasing in numbers. And so I just wonder how much behind the scenes they're not telling us could potentially be taking place in what we could look at as like hybrid warfare, because this is kind of hybrid warfare. And then there have been a multitude of reports of Russian drones over airspace in Poland, and the fact that we are leaving Europe en masse, not completely, but en masse militarily, and setting in the Caribbean and around Venezuela, and NATO is beefing up their militaries, preparing for a potential war with Russia. It seems like there's this big shift on the global scale. And I'm seeing, just what I am seeing is new pacts are being made, new adversaries, new allies are being created behind the scenes. And you heard about France, right? How that leaked letter came out where the hospitals in France were being told to prepare for mass casualties, 50 to 80,000 people in a very short amount of time. So buckle up, Buttercup. Be prepared, not scared. That's my motto. Be prepared, not scared. I like this article, and it doesn't surprise me. Let's talk about this for a minute, because do you remember when the news was pushing global warming? You eat too much steak, you drive too many cars, you fly too much, you shouldn't have air conditioning, a refrigerator bad, you need to eat bugs and like it, walk everywhere you go, you need to pay carbon credits. Remember that whole fiasco? Well, things have certainly changed in a very short amount of time. And, I find it interesting that these data centers and artificial intelligence and technologies that require so much energy, exuberant amounts of energy. There's reports that suggest that within the next 8 years, data centers and artificial intelligence technologies could be consuming about a quarter, 20 to 25% of the energy consumed. So when you've got this big shift and we need more energy because more money is being put into these data centers and artificial intelligence, which could be a gigantic bubble, folks. I mean, this could make the year 2000 and tech stocks look like a, walk in the park compared to what we could see with the promises of artificial intelligence and super intelligence and billions of dollars going out funding these things, these mega corporations and these mega tech companies putting data centers behind residential areas. And these hums are so debilitating to certain people that they have to move. They try putting in new windows, new blocking technologies to block the hum that some of these data centers produce, and it messes with their circadian rhythm, they claim, so they can't sleep, they have nightmares. I mean, it's a nightmare for many people. But as this shift is taking place for super intelligence, data centers, tracking everything, biological technologies to track everything in real time via 5G and then 6G, sixth generation communications, which will make 5G look slow, where they're using terahertz waves and they're using people's bodies as an interface oftentimes for technologies. When you have big money pushing these technologies, it's amazing how fast it's gone from global warming to we need more nukes and like nuclear technologies to produce energy. And now Bill Gates is starting to not be as scared anymore of global warming. What a surprise. Aren't you surprised? Listen to this. Donald Trump recently declared on social media that we have won the war on the climate change hoax, claiming that Bill Gates has finally admitted that he was completely wrong on the issue. Trump's statement follows the publication of a new blog post by Gates in which the billionaire philanthropist discussed the topic of climate change. In the post, Gates stated that while climate change is a serious issue, the doomsday view of climate change is wrong and that it will not destroy humanity in the immediate future. Gates urged a focus on innovation, healthcare, and poverty reduction to help vulnerable populations adapt to a warming planet, rather than only pursuing unrealistic short-term emission targets. It's amazing how his mind changed on that. I wonder why. It's because he loves you so much. He loves the planet. He loves you so much. He loves you so much. Anyway, this is from earthsky.com, and the backside of the sun has been quite active as 3i Atlas has been making its birth maneuvering around the sun. CMEs ejecting off the back of the sun, pretty substantial. I mean, nothing like ridiculously insane, but it does seem to be more active. So let's go back to 3i Atlas. If you're just joining us, thank you for joining us. This is from Professor Loeb, and Professor Loeb's most recent paper. Actually, I think he just came out with another one, but this one just a few hours ago, Gravitational Lensing of 3i Atlas by the Sun. In this paper, Professor Loeb not only describes 10 anomalies of 3i Atlas that don't match the characteristics of a typical comet, but he also mentions how, and this is the most recent image we have from the Lowell Discovery Telescope, just so you know, and this is actually a ground-based telescope, and this image was just taken a few days ago, so this is the latest image. I know it's nothing spectacular, but it's better than artificial intelligence. It's better than a flying space turd artist rendition of Oumuamua. He describes that based upon the change of trajectory with 3i Atlas, especially as it was passing the sun and it turned brighter, it became brighter blue as it was passing the sun, which is interesting. But if you study the electric universe theory, that could be explained pretty cool. I mean, the way that it's explained with the electric universe, I need to have somebody come on and I will ask them about all these anomalies in particular, and then they can give me their explanation, because I think it's pretty good. It's the only thing that would explain some of the, like, it'd be really great is if I could get Professor Loeb, Greg Allison, and somebody that is very well versed in the electric universe on the show. Too bad we can't get Wal Thornhill on the show, right? I've interviewed Wal, I think 3 or 4 times, And I hope you're resting in peace and power, Mr. Wall Thornhill. It was always nice to speak with you. But it would be interesting to get a different perspective. With that in mind, I still find it very interesting that this object is maneuvering the way that it is, at the speed that it is. And I'm also wondering if it is 33 billion tons of nickel alloy, which we've only found signatures of this nickel alloy before with industrialization process. And then we use that nickel alloy. Once we create the nickel alloy here, we put it on spacecraft and satellites and other technologies that we launch into space, because it actually hardens the technology and it makes it more secure in space. So this object is 33 billion tons of that, producing 33 gigawatts of power. That's there. I know, I get it. Trust me. You know, the number 33, I understand. Okay, I understand. But regardless, whether that's code or not, if it's in that range, like let's say it's 32 billion tons, 32.987 billion tons, and it's producing 31.697 gigawatts of power. Having the number 33 as the, like, I don't know, the base point of that, I do also wonder if there's certain code being used when, 33 is in the news sometimes. Like, who are you sending that signal or message to? I don't know, but it is fascinating, to say the least. So they're telling us that this thing's a nickel alloy object, and it's shaped like a egg. It looks like an egg, literally. And then there's images from like the James Webb Telescope that makes it look like an egg inside of it, like the yolk is inside of it. A typical comet is mainly ice, right? So they say, or it's probably a rock surrounded by ice, and the electrical charge is what makes it appear the way that it does in the electrical universe theory. That's part of it. That type of weight at that speed, with that maneuvering, and with the lack of data and the lack of like, where's the beef? Show us the images of 3I Atlas from the high rise. Why doesn't China's space program come out and show us what they have? I see this as like up there with some of the UAP technology, that it appears there is a shadow group of clandestine operatives that control what we see. It's like a trickle down effect. It's definitely a pyramid. There's people up there that we don't even know what their position is. We don't know who they work for. We don't know what society they're part of, because they're so clandestine. But it seems like all these space agencies around the world work together, because we're getting about the same stuff. We're either getting the same data on specific objects or specific anomalies, or we're getting none of it. The only thing that I can see that we got a little bit more out of from the China space programs was the dark side of the moon, because they landed spacecraft on the dark side of the moon, and we were able to get some of that imaging. But still, even the images from there it doesn't look that incredible to me. I mean, I would think if you're going to drop a rover or a spacecraft on the dark side of the moon, you're going to have cameras that are so crisp and so detailed, you could count the specks of sand with that image. To put that kind of money and that kind of time into technology to launch into space, and then we get back computer rendered images, or something that's like gone through some type of computer program, and then we get to see it. I think that the satellite images we saw of the moon back in like the 70s, some of that stuff was way better than what we're getting now. And the Viking orbiter that sent us back images of Cydonia region Mars, where you can clearly see a massive face and then pyramids close to the face, that's evidence for a highly advanced civilization on Mars. But what do? Years later, 20 years later, they come out with computer rendered imaging of the objects on Mars and say, oh, this is a much higher resolution, and you can clearly see it's pareidolia. Well, you might fool the masses on that, but you're not fooling me. So anyway, it's because they love you so much. They love you. All right, so what are the 10 anomalies right now of 3i Atlas? If you're just joining us, thank you for being here. Its retrograde trajectory is aligned within 5 degrees with the ecliptic plane of the planets around the sun. There's a likelihood of 0.2%. During July and August, it displayed a sunward jet that is not an optical illusion from geometric perspective, unlike familiar comets. Now, there have been other comets that have displayed what appears to be an anti-tail, like Comet Encke. Love Encke. And then there was a solar flare, a massive CME from the sun, and then it made that disappear from view, that tail. Its nucleus is 1,000,000 times more massive than Oumuamua. You know what? Oumuamua, flying space turd, or interstellar scout? I think that either way, I'm more likely to think it's an interstellar scout than a flying space turd, but I'll give that a 50-50. Either way, you're not going to surprise me. We still see no images of Oumuamua except for very, very low resolution images or computer rendition. 2i Borisov. We have seen better images of 2i Borisov. But the size of Oumuamua being 1,000 times more. So Oumuamua was 1,000,000 times smaller. 2i Borisov was 1,000 times smaller than 3i Atlas. However, both of these are slower than 3i Atlas. 3i Atlas is moving faster than both of these objects, and the likelihood of that is 0.1% if it is natural. Its arrival time fine-tuned to bring it within tens of millions of kilometers from Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and be unobservable from Earth at perihelion with a likelihood of 0.005%. Now, that could be smart gas. You know, it could be because this thing is just, the universe is so big that there was this one object that was launched from deep space. And, you know, there was a major cataclysm. So it just got blown out of its solar system at remarkable speeds, and it's traveled for billions of years. And it's decided, you know, for whatever reason, the trajectory shot it out into space to where it's going to make this amazing orbit around our planets. And it's going to use smart gas, where it emits, you know, vents of gas to allow it to move in this incredible trajectory. And I'm being a little bit facetious here. Its gas plume contains much more nickel than iron, which is found in industrial produced nickel alloys. A nickel to cyanide ratio that is orders of magnitude larger than all known comets, including 2i Borisov. There's a likelihood of below 1%. Its gas plume contains only 4% water by mass, a primary constituent of familiar comets. It shows extreme negative polarization, unprecedented for all known comets, including 2i Borisov, a likelihood below 1%. It arrived from a direction coincident with the radio wow signal within 9 degrees. You know what the wow signal is. Near perihelion, it brightened faster than any known comet and was bluer than the sun. Wow, that's amazing. That's pretty cool. If these anomalies are all associated with a natural comet, then the non-gravitational acceleration of 3i Atlas must have resulted from it losing at least. Now, this is very important. So if you heard me say this at the beginning, thank you for listening again. If you're just joining us, I'm bringing this up again because it's a really important part of this podcast and this object. If these anomalies are all associated with a natural comet, then the non-gravitational acceleration of 3i Atlas must have resulted from it losing at least 15% of its mass. This should have resulted in a massive debris cloud around 3i Atlas carrying over 5 billion tons of gas. It would be impossible to miss this massive cloud in upcoming observations during November and December. As 3i Atlas comes closer to Earth, December 19th, if such a massive cloud is not observed, then the 10th anomaly of 3i Atlas would be the display of non-gravitational acceleration without the required massive coma. Wow. Gravitational lensing of 3i Atlas by the sun. Professor Loeb on his Medium page. So this is the object right here. And I think that's the majority of the podcast, folks. Thank you for being here. This is just an update on the troops leaving Europe for the Caribbean, which we talked about. Some more details on that. And NATO is increasing its military readiness. And NATO intercepts third Russian spy plane with transponder. And they had that off, of course, in 3 days. So buckle up, buttercups. I hope you have a beautiful day, everybody. I want to thank you so much for being here with me. If you would do me a favor, just check the bell here on YouTube and hit it for all notifications. That way, hopefully you'll get notifications that we're going live. And jump on over to our Rumble page. It'll take you 90 seconds to subscribe. It's totally free. That helps us continue to grow. And if you would, check us out on Patreon if you want to check out exclusive field trips and long format interviews that go back like 10 years. You'll only find this on our Patreon and our leakproject.com page. And be the change you want to see. Thank you.